Good evening and welcome to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with Yanina Nickles, who works for the Town of Kennebunkport. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much.
And we know that you work for the town, but we don't know anything else about you. So that's why you're sitting in the hot seat tonight.
Perfect. Okay.
So where were you born, Yanina?
So I was born in a little tiny village in Ukraine.
Okay.
So the village was about 200 people or so. And it's in the south of Ukraine, and it's right about Crimea. And I spent most of my childhood there and most of my, I would say, teenage years.
Yeah.
And then I went to college in the region as well, and until I moved to the United States. So that's where I'm from.
Wow. And how did you get here?
So when I was in high school, I had a Peace Corps volunteer who was my teacher, Katie, and she's from Washington, D.C., and we became good friends, and we talked a lot. And I really, I liked English a lot, and I wanted to be English teacher, and I wanted this experience, and I wanted to travel. So I started looking for different programs and tried to find how I can come to the U.S., or for that matter, really to like Great Britain or somewhere else. And I found the program Work and Travel.
Yeah.
And I tried to stay near Katie, who was my teacher.
Yeah.
So I looked up different, like Washington, D.C. area, Virginia area. But then Katie sent me this job in Maine, and she said, I think this is going to be a good fit for you. It's a good place because it's more like home. So weather like home, but also she said it's safe and nice, and she said, I think you will enjoy it. And it's pretty close. It was the closest to her. So I applied. I was just a housekeeper for the summer, so I applied for the.
Don't say just. That's a hard job.
It is a hard job. I'm actually still doing it as my part-time job. So I applied for the job, and then I came for the summer.
Yeah.
I had 4 jobs actually that summer. It was crazy, and that's kind of how I first time came to the U.S.
Yeah.
And I met at the time not my husband, but now my husband. And so we kind of were friends, and then I went back to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And he came to Ukraine as well. He came and met my family, and then he came one more time, and I was like, oh, I guess this guy really likes me.
Yeah.
If he travels
Your
there.
family gave him the green light?
They did. Yes, I was very nervous. I was translator for the time because my parents don't speak English at all. And he obviously doesn't speak Ukrainian, so I was translating. So there were like some translation missed, I was trying to do my best there, and I was like navigating the conversation into my favor. They know, but so and then I came back summer after, and he proposed, and we got married, and then I went to USM.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how
Yeah.
I moved to United States. It was a little, rocky, and there were a lot of things on the way, but 8 years later, I'm here.
Wow. And you've been working for the town for?
So almost 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I started as an intern.
Yeah.
I applied for the internship program when I was graduating from USM.
Yep.
And I applied, and I didn't hear back from anyone. And I was like, well, I guess there's that, and this is it. And then basically the internship closed, and then Lori called me. And I was like, whoa, that's, that was just, I don't know, I was surprised, I guess. She called me, and she was like, oh, are you still interested or, in internship? And I said, absolutely. And so I spent my summer in Kennebunkport as an intern. Yeah. And then I stayed. I never left.
That's great. And so what do you do for the town?
So right now, I'm director of support services department. And it's kind of like an odd duck department in some way. I'm doing a lot of HR stuff, but I have 2 people that work with me, and one is IT technology person, and the other one is communications and events specialist.
Okay.
So we kind of do a little bit of everything in different ways, but the way we see it is as supporting the town and the departments within the town. So whenever something happens with the computers or telephone systems, they call the technology specialist. And Hope, who's the communication specialist, writes articles and press releases for departments. She promotes things, and HR, obviously, I help on many different levels, employees with benefits, recruitment, and stuff like that.
So I saw that you were getting ready to sort of revamp the website.
Yes.
That's a big project.
It is a big project,
And
yes.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into it.
That is so true. And yeah, and it's one of those, odd projects that, my department took on, which I'm very excited about. It's been a long process because, so our current website was, I believe, established in 2015. And, with all the changes and COVID and just so many things changed so fast, our website became a little outdated. So we started looking into it about 2 years ago, I would say. There were 2 different committees looking into websites. And we talked to vendors and we tried to find just the best solution. But at some point, I think I said, let's stop for a second and rethink the way we're approaching it, because basically the main goal is, to create this website for the citizens, but we kind of never ask citizens what they needed.
Right.
So I started with the survey, and I sent out the survey to citizens asking, what do you think about our website, and do you like it? What would you change? Stuff like that. And we received some good feedback. And a lot of the feedback was about our search button, but it's really hard to come up with a perfect search button. We're trying. So the next step in the process will be, I will try to create a committee that will include citizens.
Okay.
And I will want their feedback of like design of the website and how they see it. Because right now it's based by department, which Town does so many different things that it's hard to group it by anything else.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
But maybe, somebody else will have a different idea, and we're open to those ideas. So I'm hoping to write RFP, request for proposal.
Right.
Put it out, and after all the feedback, and let vendors come to us.
Yep, that's a good way to do it.
So that's the hope.
But I like the fact that you're asking the community, what do you search for? And, and those kinds of things. And, because I think there's a lot of us that still like to just call you up and say, hey, I need information on X, Y, and Z. So, but I find that even with our website, it's always a work in progress.
It is.
No matter if it's perfect, it's going to still be a work in progress.
Always. And as I said, we have so many departments. Right now, while we're in this waiting period, we're trying to clean up our current website just to make it a little more, just to give people better options for searches. And we have so much of outdated data there that it's just crazy.
Right.
So we're cleaning it up, and while we're waiting for the next step, and then we'll see how it goes. But as you said, it's not. It is a work in progress.
And you probably, because of the pandemic, you learned a lot, but of things that people were looking for because they couldn't come in. But still, to put all that in a nice little package it's difficult.
Yeah, and also was actually one of the best things was communications person. Hope introduced us to this back website that could show us data of how people search things or what they search for, and we cannot say who searched for what, but we can trace of what was the most searchable item or how long people stay on certain pages. So we're also taking that data and we're trying to make some kind of system out of it and organize it to make sense out of it. And also include that in RFP. So that was very useful. There's a lot of things that we didn't know about, but those things definitely will be helpful in the process.
Yeah, I look on your website a lot for where a street is.
Okay.
So sometimes there's some new streets that will pop up, and someone will come in for a library card, and they'll say, I live on Burl Circle or whatever it's called, and where is that? And it's not because I'm nosy. I'm very curious, because then the next person that comes in is going to say, hey, I'm lost. I need to get to Burl Street. So it helps to know, but I find the website informative when it comes to things like that. When I was in school, a library school, we had to go through this test of, we had to build a website, but then we had to go through a test of, say you're working with older folks, and they had to be able to navigate it for me to get my grade.
Gotcha.
And so for senior citizens, it was really, I found it really helpful because there were many, many things I wouldn't think of that they wouldn't think of. So, or how they would, how they would search for things.
Yep.
Same things with like little kids, because they're looking at stuff too. But there's so much that you have to put on there, and then some stuff really doesn't really need to be, and so then you have your other job to do.
Yep, that's true. Well, and I think, website helps so much to every single department, because if you can find it on the website, that's minus one more call or conversation that, or like a little more time for us to do other things.
Right.
But also, one of the ideas that actually Lori brought up was, she said, why wouldn't you invite one of the residents, I would say like after 60 years old, and ask them to search for, building permit and see how they do it, how the process goes. And we actually tried asking a few people, but I don't think they're, feeling comfortable with the process, which is okay. We'll find other ways, but that was an idea of like, how do you search for things? Where do you
I'm
look?
close
Where do you
to
go?
60, so I'd be I'd be willing to help you.
If you want to volunteer, we're always looking for people to do that. Yes.
Give me some things. I'll go through. So when you're not here, you said you've got a couple of other things that you're doing. What do you like to do when you're not working?
So I would say recently, the past year, it's hard. It's a hard question to answer, because right now my whole life consists of scrolling through the news feed about my country, and my family is still in Ukraine. So it's, I wake up and the first thing I do is just go on my phone and trying to catch up to Ukrainian news, and they update them so often. And that's kind of what I do most of the day, really. If I'm not here, like at evening, I'm doing the same, trying to catch up to the day news. But otherwise, I really like learning languages. So actually when COVID hit and we were home for a certain period of time, I was like, oh, I don't need to travel anymore. I have this whole hour, half an hour one way and half an hour back, that I can use in some good way. So I actually signed up for French classes, and I did it for a long time, over a year. And then my French tutor found a real job, as she says. And I was like, no. So I did French classes for that time, and I really enjoyed it. I do enjoy reading a lot, and I read all kind of weird stuff, as Lori says it, because I like to read HR books and law books and kind of like research type things,
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of weird reading in a way.
Nothing wrong with that. You're learning.
I wouldn't say it's like fun, but it's fun for me. But I also do enjoy spending time outside and just kind of being present, especially in the summer when when the sun is out. And I live in Old Orchard, so I'm lucky to go to the ocean and enjoy the ocean. And so those are nice moments that I appreciate.
Yeah, that's a nice area. Whereabouts are you in Old Orchard?
So
I live in Saco, so not far.
I live very close to downtown. I don't know. Do you know like Family Dollar, Dollar General? So in that area.
Okay.
So I can walk to the ocean in like 10 minutes.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
You can even get on the train and go to Boston if you
I
want.
I know. Yes, I can do that.
They'll probably start stopping pretty soon for the summer.
For the summer.
Yeah. So I hope if this is an okay subject to talk about, but parents, family, everybody okay?
Yeah. I think it became relative. It's such a broad question when somebody asks me that, because my parents are okay. They made a choice to stay in Ukraine, and they stayed in the region where I grew up, and there are a lot of bombing happening out there, and it's been rough. Because they. I try to talk to them every day, and my dad calls me and he's like, oh, we just had pizza today and we went for a walk and we read a book. I was like, sounds like your guys, on vacation, but that's because they cannot do anything else. And my dad has a farm. So that helps a lot. He works a lot on his farm. He has a degree in agriculture, so he likes to create new species and kinds of trees, and he just likes growing things. So strawberries, peaches, a lot of stuff like that. And that also fed them a lot too throughout all of this time, but also keeps them busy. But as I said, being okay is just like such a relative relative thing. They're healthy, and that's good.
Yeah.
And they're there, they're alive, and that's
Yeah.
all what matters. And that's how I count days.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think they'll ever come here, or are they pretty?
So I would say they probably would want to visit and see
yep.
how I live. And, I'm an only child, so for them that's been a lot. And I've been here for 8 years, and they applied once for a visa, but they didn't get it. They couldn't come. It's just a tough process, and it depends on quotas.
Yeah.
So I was actually planning for them to apply again, but then the war started, and my dad is 50, which is he's in the calling age. He can be called to duty.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
he cannot leave the country right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long the whole process will be.
Yeah.
Might be a few more years. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think they would like to come,
Yeah.
but that's really not up to them at this point. So I'm hoping maybe to go and meet them on the Western Ukraine. Maybe they will pull them a little bit and try to do something fun just for a little bit.
Yeah.
But not sure. That's not a plan yet. So
is there anything we can be doing for them?
I think, when last year I was asked to speak at the church, and it was wonderful. It was a great event, and people donated, money, and even those who just came and cared. That was just wonderful to see, and then after my speech, they sent donations to organization that I chose, and it was I think it's called like Sunflowers for Ukraine, and it's a Boston organization, and they just help with. It wasn't like a military organization. They were just helping with food and different like healthcare things, which was wonderful. And just I think talking about it, and because it's still happening.
It's still happening, exactly. Yeah.
And I think right now, media is just so fast, and everything shifts very fast. So last year it was like a hot topic, and it's a little less of a hot topic now, which I understand, but it's still very dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
And whenever I talk to my parents, it's just, they're like, oh, today was only just like few bombs and explosions, and yesterday was more, and it's just very hard to hear. So I think just care and ask questions, and simply, just keep the conversation going, so people more aware of what's going on. I think that would be plenty for me to ask.
So Sunflowers for Ukraine, is that still an active?
Yeah, they were actually there before, before the war, and I think I just like the idea behind it. And there are so many organizations out there. UN does a lot of things for refugees and kids, which is wonderful. And I think right now, if you just Google any nonprofit for Ukraine, there are so many right now that really any would be helpful.
Yeah. So as far as what your father grows, like how does that stuff go to market somewhere? Is that a big enough farm or?
So yeah, he has a huge farm actually, and that was his whole life, and that's why he actually didn't even want to leave my region, because my region right now is under attack. So it's Kherson, which is one of the controversial parts. They were occupied the first ones, and now Ukrainian military is pushing back. But so for a while, when Kherson was occupied, it was just like very hard to grow anything. And now it's divided by the river. So my parents is on the safe side, but Russia is bombing through the river to the safe side, so-called. So it is really hard right now to sell anything, because there is really no anymore, like there's no notion of like currency. There are no banks. There is no, there is no medical centers. There is no police. It's a hard idea if you don't live it, because I work for local government, and I just cannot even understand it. I was like, that's so surreal to me. But so he did grow it to sell, but now they just grow to exchange. So they exchange it for fuel or for other food, and neighbor has chicken and he has peaches, so that's kind of the currency currently.
Well, that worked once before, right?
It
That was
did.
the way it was. So before currency, so.
Yeah, and it's nice too, because people there obviously in the same boat, and everybody kind of pulling together and pitching in when they can. So, but that's kind of why he does it now.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep praying for them.
Thank you.
Hopefully this will be,
I know. I think so.
I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
It was
So-
rough. Last year was rough, and I would say my coworkers were. I mean, it was just, I was still coming to work, and it was just like not good time, obviously. But my coworkers pulled me through a lot of things and helped a lot, and just, as I said, cared, and there was plenty for me to get out there and do things that matter, and and do my job. It's also, we all have things that happen in our lives. Every person has something that they care about and that they go through. And for me, it wasn't a reason to not to do my job. But as Lori said, it's a little different circumstance, and I understand. But I was just waking up and going to see my people, and it was just nice.
Yeah, that is nice when you have a support system like that. Yeah.
And Kennebunkport is so lucky to have the government, the crew we have, the departments
Exactly.
we have. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And you're even closer than you think. If any of you ever go to the town office, you're all close, but you're really close because of the quarters that you're working in.
That is so true. Yes, it's like there is no, somebody calls on the phone and you can hear the whole conversation. You're like, just pretending you cannot hear it.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how you work, because you have to be like professional, and obviously like where I was at work is staying at work, but we're so close.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you all do a lot. You all do a lot, and it's necessary for all of those jobs, but really tight quarters. So
yeah, we have just one spare room that we can kind of book for like private matters. So like for me, for HR, I use that room obviously for like to meet with employees and stuff. But other ways, it's like
Well, you can always come over here
perfect
because we have rooms for that.
You'll regret you said that, because
no,
I'll bring that to the town hall.
That's okay. I mean, we've got a room that is, and I've mentioned this to Lori before too. Sometimes you just need a place off-site.
Yeah.
So we have a little room down off of the book sale, and then the bigger community room if you have to have a bigger meeting. So just
That's
keep that
nice.
in mind.
Yes, I appreciate it. That's nice of you guys. We definitely need something like that, because sometimes you just need to concentrate, and it's like you can hear every conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Or like you actually can hear when people breathe or like sigh, and you're like, why are you sighing? Come on,
Right,
it's a
something's
great
wrong.
day.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
But some people might just be practicing their yoga.
Right? Yeah. So stuff like that.
So we have at the conclusion of our interviews, we have a rapid fire round of one word answers.
Oh God.
Okay, so don't be
Sure.
afraid.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream?
Ice cream. Oh,
If you eat it, you might not.
I do. I'm chocolate. I'll do
Okay.
chocolate.
Okay. Do you have a favorite movie?
I do. I have a lot, but I will choose. It is old, like USSR movie, but it's called The Office Romance.
Okay.
And it just reminds me of my grandpa, so
Oh, nice.
I watch it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite book?
That's a tough one. I would say probably I really enjoyed reading Greek myth.
Okay.
I studied literature in Ukraine. I was supposed to be English, German literature teacher. And it was just something about the mindset. I really liked it. So I'll say that.
Okay. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working? I think you mentioned a little bit.
I would say probably spending time with family and snuggling my dog.
Okay. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a mud. And
Yeah?
he's horrible, but I love him so much. He chewed every corner in the house. But we adopted him from the shelter in Westbrook.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's just the worst thing in my life.
Oh, I bet you, especially for you in this past year, he's been a good thing to have at your.
Absolutely, and he's so snuggly, and it just helps.
I bet it does. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
I do. It also depends. It depends on a lot of things, but I enjoy Patton's River a lot.
Yeah.
I like the. I like that they put on their menu also like the history where they originate from Kennebunkport, and now they have so many locations. And it was very interesting to see that from this little family, you know, they were, I think, brewing beer in their home. I think that's what it says on the menu.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now they have 3 different locations. They have one in Portland, in Biddeford, and here, right,
Yeah.
in Kennebunk. I like that idea.
Yeah.
And I love little local places.
Yep.
I rarely go to any chains. I don't think I actually go to chains at all.
Yeah.
Supporting local businesses is just,
Yeah.
that's the best thing you
Yeah,
can do.
I agree. I agree.
know?
Any trip you want to take?
I do. I love traveling, and I think my biggest one would probably go back home and see my family if I can. That probably more of a like a dream, you know, that I don't know. We'll see if comes true or not. But other way, really anywhere.
Yeah.
I would go anywhere. The world is so big, and there is so much to do and so much to explore. And
Yeah.
you know, life is so short that it's like I would just
right.
go anywhere.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for everything that you do for the town, for us as a community. And if you need any guinea pigs to help test your website out, Mike Kelly and I could probably drum up with some searches.
Perfect. I love it.
So,
thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you
inviting me.
Thanks for being here. It's nice to learn a little bit more about you. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate
and
it.
we hope your family is
Thank you.
safe.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate it.
Thank you all for being with us for another episode of What's Your Story, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.